Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a lot of fun to come tonight and to share. I do have to do some confession. As a pastor, that's a good thing, right? Excuse me, amen. I never went to a support group meeting. Do I have to gain my weight back? Is that and I don't know what happened there, but Thursday nights were always bad for me. I think they were Thursday nights, and I think I had to, had to sign something or do something. But so I finally got to my one. I have to come one more time, and I guess I'm legit. Is that how it is? You got to do two? Is that it?
Five.
Five. Okay. Well, I'll be going forever now. I thought, talking to Kevin, I thought that the best thing to do is to quickly just tell you my story and how I got to this place. When that picture was up there, probably when I went to lose my weight, I was at 410 pounds. Now, as you can see, I'm a tall guy, and I have always carried my weight very well. And what I mean by that is that I have been a big guy forever. I was 11'4" at birth. I was 22 inches long, and my mother is 4'11". Okay, yeah. She hated me. Okay, my mother's hated me my whole life. Okay, I was the third child in our family and the last child in our family. But I was a big kid, and all the way through, I was a big kid. I also was an athletic kid. My father was a professional baseball player before he hurt himself in the 40s and 50s, so athletics was a big thing. Played football, obviously. When you are 280 pounds in high school, you play football. And I never got injured. And so I had good wheels, no bad knees, no bad ankles. I was a lacrosse goalie in high school, so I was agile, and that just continued. Even as I got older, I was pretty athletic. I was playing basketball. I was coaching basketball for my son, and so I was a big guy, and I could carry myself, and I was fairly healthy and fairly active. And to be honest with you, I have a personality that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it. And that's just part of my nature and part of my soul. For all those years, I could carry that weight. And then the other thing is, I was a public person. I speak for a living, and I have spoke to fairly large groups of people. And so I never had a self-image issue. Now, I wanted to lose weight. I had tried to lose weight. I lost weight to get married, and then gained weight after I got married. And then I lost weight and gained weight and lost weight and gained weight. And many of you have gone to Dr. Brader's seminar, and you heard that that is a pattern. The most I ever lost was 80 pounds. The most I ever gained back was 80 pounds. And I kept going like that. And so that was my story. I hit 50 years old, or just about hit 50 years old. Had a couple of little health concerns, a couple of health issues, but nothing major. And my son was about to head off to college the next year or so. He was about, I guess, 11th grade. And I was thinking about that a lot, and thinking about his college graduation. And, if you live here in Lancaster, I'm not from Lancaster originally, I'm from New York City. And one of the things I learned when I moved to Lancaster is you read the obituaries. It's kind of like a little, you become a real Lancasterian by reading the obituaries. Yes. I never did when I was in New York. All of a sudden came here, you read the obituaries. I guess they had to keep track of who's still around. And I noticed, as I started looking through the obituaries, I noticed a lot of 50-year-olds. And people my age, some of my friends in high school, some of my friends in college, their kids were getting married, their kids get married, and they were having grandkids. And so I started thinking to myself, am I going to see my kid graduate from college? Am I going to go to his wedding? Am I going to hold a grandchild? And so some of those things that, if you would have said, well, you know, you're not going to hold your grandchild. I started to say to myself, you know, I can do a lot of things, but the fact of the matter is, I'm dead. That's the end of it. And then there was another part, and it was mostly because of my job and my career, and that is I pastor a church of about 800 people, and a lot of people who relied on me. And that started to weigh on me. No pun intended. And I started to say, I really think I should do something about this, but I have to go out there. So I had a relative who at Christmas time of, I guess, 2008, told me they were going to have bariatric surgery. And my response to them was, don't do that, are you an idiot? Those people kill people. Haven't you read the stories on that? Do not do that. And I came back and I drove home from Christmas and I said to my wife, I got to check. I can't let her do that, being the protector that I am. I can't let her do that. And as soon as the new year came, driving through Lancaster, I see this weight loss billboard. I said, yeah, look, these voodoo guys are right here in Lancaster. I'll get to the bottom. So I called them up, acting really coy, and said, oh, you know, I'm very interested. I'd like to get a little information about this. And I don't know who it was, but they said, yeah, well, January 13th, we're having a seminar at the Eden Resort if you'd like to come. I said, yeah, I'd like to come. Well, we'll send you some paperwork. You have to fill the paperwork out to come into the seminar. I get this tomb. And I saw, brother, all right, so I filled the whole thing out. And I go to the Eden Resort, and I've been to the Eden a lot for different functions, and I'm thinking it's going to be in one of the little rooms there. And all of a sudden, I look at the thing, and it's like the presidential ballroom. And I walk in, and there's like 150, 160 people there. I said, holy mackerel. This is an issue. This is an issue. And so Dr. Brader starts talking. And he's about 45 minutes in it. And I'm listening to the statistics, and I'm listening to the whole thing. And I think to myself, maybe this is for me. And so I gave my paperwork in. My wife picked me up. She and my son had dropped me off, and they took off for 2 hours, came back, and the first thing they said, well, did you get the goods? Did you get the goods on them? And I got in the car and I went, I think I'm going to have the surgery. And she said, you got to be kidding me. I said, no. I said, I think that's the answer. I said, I just saw my entire life in front of me as he described the weight loss problem and why people don't lose and why they need help and all this. And I said, I said, but I got to be honest with you, honey. There's like 150 people there. And there's some people there who needed a lot more than me. I thought. And you know what? They're going to go through the list of people. They're going to go through that application, that tomb that I filled out. They're going to go through that whole thing. And they're basically going to put me way, way down on the totem pole. And, you know, so you don't have to worry about it. I won't get called. 3 days later, I get a phone call. Dr. Braden would like to see you. It was like being called to the principal's office. And so the following Friday, this is the end of January, I go in. Now he's here, not here, and so I can say this. I'm going in for my checkup Thursday, so you be quiet. I was scared to death when I met him. I mean, the guy didn't smile. He was as cold as ice, and that part of my whole livelihood is to read people. And I'm reading this guy, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to let this guy even touch me? I'm scared to death. And he was like, matter of fact, had his little calculator going. And he goes through, he says, yeah, we can help you. And he tells me how much I can lose in the first year. well, when do you want to schedule? Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, 2 weeks before this, I was trying to figure out if he was voodoo or not, and now he's ready to go at it. And like a couple minutes later, I don't know if they still do this, but I guess the insurance person back then walks in and kind of gives the nod, and that was like, yeah, we can get him on his insurance. And he said, here's the deal, you got to be 6 months under doctor supervision, and your insurance will take care of this. So I couldn't believe it. So I said, well, I got 6 months to either run, chicken out, or whatever. And fortunately, my doctor had a nutritionist in their office. And I went and sat down with Carol and made an appointment and sat down. I said, this is what I want to do. And she said, what do you want to do? I said, well, they told me I got to lose like 10 pounds. I said, forget that. I said, I got this notebook because they gave me a notebook. And I digested the notebook. And I basically said, I got 6 months. I am going to begin to live as if I have had the bariatric surgery now, and if I can't do it now, I will never do it once I have the surgery. And she said, okay. So I began drinking almost nothing at mealtime. I mean nothing. It was bad. I had a little Dixie cup like that sometimes. I began reading every label. I began doing everything that notebook told me I was supposed to do once I had the surgery. And from February to September, I lost 40 pounds. I had a physical trainer in our church, and I went to him, and I said, every Sunday I yell at you. Monday through Friday, I need you to yell at me. Will you do that? No, I said, I mean it. I mean it. I'm going to come to the gym, and you are going to put me through the rigors. I said, because if I don't do it in these next 6 months, once I have this surgery, I will never do it. I got to do it now. Before they start touching my stomach, I want to know if I'm going to do it. So I began to do it. And getting up every morning and going to the gym and working out and having a little chart. Now, one of the things that really helped me, and maybe, I don't know where you all are in your journey, but the biggest thing that really helped me, and just I continued up until about 8 months ago, and that is journaling my meals. Every morsel of food or water I ate, I recorded it. Everything. And when I ate it. That's how I lost the first 40. Because I brought my journal into Carol, and she looked at it, she says, I know why you're gaining weight. Why? You're not eating enough. What? I said, Carol, look at me. She said, no, you're not eating. You're not eating enough, and when you're eating wrong. I said, you've got to start taking the right kind of caloric intake in, get that boiler going, and keep it going, and just eat smaller meals during the day, and just keep your metabolism going, and you'll lose weight. She said, look what you do here. You eat breakfast, and you don't eat anything all day, and you get home, and let me guess, you want to eat wallpaper. No, I said, no, the walls. Forget just the wallpaper. Work through the wallpaper, get right to the studs, everything. She said, you can't do that. And my lifestyle as a pastor, I had a lot of evening things, so I was getting home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I was eating then because I was all geared up. I wanted to stay up. I had, just my mind was racing, and so I would eat late at night. She said, you can't do that. And so then everything was planned. I would sit down in the beginning of the week, and I would sit down with my wife, and I would say, okay, what are we having on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? I would plan all my meals. I would write them all down. I would know when I was eating. And then during the day, I had my little journal, and then I would write down exactly everything, every glass of water, everything. And then I kept all the journals. And I have a big box of them. I kept them where I could see them. And that was a huge help to me, tremendous help to me because I began to understand nutrition. I began to understand how I eat, what I need to eat, and all of those things, and reading labels, and everything is said and told for you to do. You just do it. Now, a couple things. So I lose the 40 pounds. I started. Matter of fact, it was kind of funny. Dr. Brader told me like a couple of weeks before the surgery that it was okay for me to go and have a piece of cheesecake. And I went, "Are you crazy?" He said, "No. He said, "You're losing the weight too fast now. I'm a little worried about you." I said, "Well, just worry about me once I get through here, and then I really can start losing." So I had the surgery in September 9th of 2009. And then you got to tell people you had the surgery. Now, if you hadn't had the surgery yet, let me just say to you, people are going to say, "How did you lose the weight?" They want the secret. And then you say this, "Well, I had bariatric surgery." Oh. Oh. And so you quickly have to live with the fact, right, that people think
You cheated.
yeah, you did something crazy. And I don't let that go. I said, wait a minute. I said, number one, you need to understand the whole deal here. I still have to be disciplined. I still have to watch everything I eat. I said, as a matter of fact, I have to watch everything I eat worse than just a diet. And then I would go into my whole tirade of what my meals are like and all of that. And I said, look, this is no easy way out. I haven't cheated. This is an easy way out. This took a lot of work. This took a lot of time. This takes a lot of thinking. This takes a lot of support. This is not the easy way out. But it got me back in the game. And now I'm back in the game. And so all of a sudden I started winning over a lot of people. It was kind of interesting, in the church world. People don't. They want to show their pastor love, So they don't. And you say, how do they show you love? They feed me. Yeah, of course. Matter of fact, in stupid little things like in sermons and stuff, you would talk about manicotti being my favorite or cheesecake my favorite, and they don't bring one piece; they bring the whole cheesecake or whatever. And so when people would invite over, either my wife or myself, we'd have to say, "Now, I just want to tell you how I eat. There's no offense to you, but if you're going to have me over, let me tell you what I eat and how I eat. Don't get freaked out, and please don't try to force me to do anything else. This is how it is." And then I would even say, "You don't want me to die, do you? This is how it is." "Okay, Pastor, all right. And then I talked a lot about it very openly. I just talked a lot openly to the church people and to my staff and all of that. And I just said, look, you don't have to treat me differently. I said, you want to put your donuts in? You put your donuts in. Don't trust me. I won't eat them because if I eat one of those things, I'm going to be sick as a dog. I said, don't treat me any different. Just understand, I didn't cheat. I'm working twice as hard. Now, a couple of little funny stories about eating. And maybe if you're going to go through this, some of you who have had the surgery, you understand this. They talk about dumping. Right? Have you told them about dumping? They all know about that? Okay. It only happened to me once. I have been extremely careful, but I had one experience. And it is somewhat comical. I went to breakfast one morning with the chairman of our board, and I went to Oregon Dairy. And that was no problem. I was going out to restaurants, that kind of thing. Very, you know what you can eat, know what you can't eat. But this morning I said to Jim, Jim, I really want something different. He said, well, what could you have? Because he knew, he's traveled with me. Well, what could you have? And I said, well, Jim, it's either oatmeal or a couple eggs, oatmeal, I just want something. Jim, they have a whole wheat pancake here. He said, can you have that? I said, I think so. I just have one. I said, one little poached egg. I said, just have, that's all. And then I said to the girl, I said, do you have sugar-free syrup? And she says, well, yes. I said, well, great. I said, just one little whole wheat pancake and one poached egg. great. So we get talking. This girl brings it, and I see this, and I could hear the cherubim and the seraphim singing when they landed this pancake. I was so excited, and I put a little butter on it, and she brought the little dishes with the little things, you know, and I took the thing and I put the little bit on there, and great, and I started talking to Jim. Now, how many grams of sugar are we allowed? Note to self. You're allowed 2 grams of sugar. Any kind of packaged food. 2. How many? 2. Yes, thank you. Amen. So, don't get excited right here at the end of the story. You won't be saying amen, you say, you idiot. So I'm eating the pancake, and I'm about halfway through the pancake, and I break out into a cold sweat. And Jim says to me, "Are you all right? What's the matter?" I said, "I don't know, Jim. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting the flu." And I'm sweating, and I had this yellow shirt on, and it's dripping wet. And I'm saying, "My gosh, what's wrong?" And I'm trying to think. I'm thinking to myself, I'm clammy and all this. I look down and I look at the syrup, and it wasn't sugar-free. It was real. And it was 25 grams of sugar. So my body was saying, "You are in big trouble, buddy." So I ran to the bathroom at that moment, and then I had to get back to my office. That was a chore because I was still sweating. Got to my office, and I had a meeting with some people. They were in my office, and they began talking, and I spiked. And then when you spike, you know what happens? You dive, and I fell asleep. I was out for about 15 minutes in my chair while this meeting was going on. When I came to, the girl happened to be a nurse. She said, "Welcome back to us, Pastor Jamie. How was wherever you just went?" So quickly some peanut butter crackers, and I got my blood sugar back up. The second thing that happened to me really is just a little tip to you, and that is I got the flu. I was about 1.5 years into this thing, and I got the flu very badly, and as the flu, you know what the flu does, it just wipes you out completely. Well, you can't recover quickly because you can't drink enough to recover it. I didn't know that. Well, I got the flu on a Friday night. By Saturday morning, I was feeling better, and I had a wedding to do. And I began to do this wedding, and I was conducting Jason and Kate's wedding, and I had said to my assistant pastor, I said, "You know, I had the flu last night, and I'm just feeling I don't know, just not right." He said, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "Just be ready." He said, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "Well, here's my notes, you've done wedding just in case." And I got through the dearly beloveds, I got through the giving away of the bride, I got through even the message, and the soloist was singing, and the entire room began to spin. And I passed out in the middle of the wedding. And I made it to the front seat, and I woke up on Uncle Butchbaluk's lap. He was holding my head, and they came to, and I called Dr. Brader that night, and he said, "If something like that were to happen again, you either got to get some special fluids, electrolytes, whatever into you." But I just was dehydrated. But I had learned, and when I've had experiences like that, I just, you have to recover. You have to learn how to recover. So it's been 3 years, 170 pounds. I lost 18 inches around my waist. I lost 7 inches around my calves. Wow. I went from a 21.5-inch neck to a 15-inch neck. And because I was healthy and I had no injuries, no bad ankles, no bad knees, I began running. And Friday night, to celebrate my 3rd year anniversary, I'm going to be running my 6th 5K race. And I'm not fast. I just run. Just enjoy running. I I have one of our pastors was a cross-country coach, and he takes me out like he did this morning, and takes me all the farm roads and all the loops and that kind of thing, and he's working on speed and pacing for me. I'm just trying to survive. And I feel great. I feel great. People have said to me, oh, you have more energy now. No. I was always a high-energy guy. Oh, you have a better attitude about life? No. I always had a great attitude about life. Oh, your self-image must be home with me. No. I said, my self-image wasn't tied to my weight. Well, what? Well, I said, I got a better shot to see my son get married. I got a whole lot better shot to see him graduate school. And I got even a better shot now to hold the grandkids someday. And my church is a whole lot happier that their pastor will probably be around. Sometimes they're happy I'll be around.
Amen.
But, yeah. And the other thing that's been really great was I've been able to inspire a lot of people and really challenge some people, encourage some people in their own struggle. Because it's a struggle. And you need some help. And what these folks do, Dr. Brader, and I kid around Dr. Brader, but I've told people he saved my life. He saved my life. And I am so grateful that I had that family member that Christmas say they wanted to go and do this, and I said, well, I'll find them and I'll hunt them down and prove what evil people they are. And now I'm a poster child. So that's my story, and I told Kevin, if you have questions, you want to talk about eating, you want to talk about exercise, you want to talk about people's attitude, you want to talk about any of that stuff, I'll be glad to answer questions. Just encourage it.
Did your relative have the surgery?
What's that?
Did your relative have the surgery?
They did. They had the band. I told her not to do that once I studied it. I said, you're going to cheat. You're going to cheat. Don't do it. That's why I didn't do the band, because you can cheat. And she lost about 60 pounds, and she gained 50 of it back. And so I'm having more conversations with her now. So, questions? Yeah.
About plateauing. Did you
Uh,
ever plateau?
Well, I think I have plateaued. I'm really comfortable at my weight right now because I'm a tall guy and a frame. But when I get down about 7-8 pounds less than I am now, I don't feel good. I do what's it called? When they figure out like water weight and they figure body fat, what's that thing called? Well, it's an index. Yeah, that kind of thing. I have 19% body fat now. So I have really reduced so I know how I feel right now. But I never plateaued. And I studied that whole thing, bariatric patients and when they plateaued and that kind of thing. And I realized I think it was about 18 months into it, people really start to plateau. And I just really said, no, I got to keep going until I hit where I felt good. And your body tells you. Yep.
So if you dropped 40 pounds, why did you go through it?
Well, because when I went to the seminar and listened to Dr. Brader, there was that 60, 80 pound thing that you could lose 60 pounds on your own. And I had a whole history of it. I had gone to 60, 80, 60, 80, 60, 80. I had done it. So I knew I could do 60. But I knew that I wanted to get a run at it. And the other thing was, I wanted to be healthy going into the surgery. Healthy in, healthy out. So I had the surgery. The night I had the surgery, they told me, what is it, 7th floor or 8th floor you guys are on? 7th floor. So they had told me how many times around was going to be a mile. And I said to my nurse, I'm getting my first mile in before midnight. She said, oh, well, take it easy, Mr. Mitchell. I said, no. I'm going to go. And so I started walking right away. As soon as they let me out of the bed. And I was ready to go. Matter of fact, my family doctor, he walked in the next morning. That's before I went down to have the x-ray done. He came in, and I was sitting up in my computer. And he looked, he said, because I was like one of the first bariatric people he ever had. So he wanted to see, what was going to. And he walked in, he said, how do you feel? I said, great. He said, I can't believe this. I said, well, healthy in, healthy out. I said I was healthy coming in, I'm healthy going out. So, and I was in the gym 3 days later. Back on the treadmill. I wasn't lifting anything, but 3 days later I was back on the treadmill.
What do you see when you look in the
A thinner John Candy, I guess. I don't know. It depends. In the morning, somebody needs a shave. You know.
Do you recognize yourself?
Yeah. I mean, as you're going along, you know, as I was losing weight, you know, it's you know, looking at the pictures there, I carried with me at all times a picture of me heavy. And I had it so I always, when I opened my wallet, I could see it as a constant reminder, and also to show people, because I show people today, they just can't believe it. It's funny, you know. This is 3 years ago, so we had a whole bunch of people, you know, in the church before I had the surgery, and then there are those who have come after, and they occasionally will see pictures of me in my former state, and they'll say, like, did you get a new pastor here? Who is this guy? Matter of fact, I met Governor Corbett, and I met him just around the time after I had lost the weight and all that. And to meet me, he went on our website where I had an old picture of me. And he even said to his assistant once he met me, he said, did they get a new pastor here? He said, no, he's lost a lot of weight. And so the first thing he said to me, he said, do yourself a favor, change the picture on your website. I said, oh, okay, you got it, Governor, right away.
What was the pain like? How long did you go? I mean,
You mean the surgery?
No, after the surgery. Was how many days were you in? I mean, were you in a lot of pain? The first.
No.
You was pretty much.
I mean,
pain-free,
I want to be careful because having been around hospitals and patients, a lot of church people, I know one person can have surgery and it can be a nightmare for them, and another person can have surgery and be great for them. For me, after I had the surgery, I was fine. I didn't have a lot. I didn't really even need anything like a lot of medicines.
So
Like
you
I said,
was back to work in 3 or 4 days?
No. I stayed home. I did because you got to. You're the diet you're on.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be home. I need to be home. I needed to be where I could get to my food, where I could do the things I needed to do, because you're on a liquid diet, and you know you got about again I forget, it was about 2 weeks of soft food or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
And
Full liquid diet.
so you have a pet. So my suggestion is be at home at least those first 2 weeks. Be at home. You don't need that. You need to focus down on what you got to do right then, because it is an adjustment to you. And then, but I'll tell you, at the end of my week 6 or so, I was sitting at Yankee Stadium watching the Yankees win the World Series on the Phillies. That was my big. I wanted to. Amen, right? Was it amen? Amen. So that was my. I was hoping the Yankees would win the World Series or get into the World Series, and that was. And the first time I ate really anything different was there, and I had a little piece of sushi, high protein. It was great.
I think one of the key things you said for your success was healthy in and healthy out.
Yep.
I don't think that for the pre-op patients that they stress enough about the healthy in.
Yeah.
So valuable throughout the whole process.
Yeah. For me, it really was important. It was important. Yeah.
What is the typical diet you had from the start of when you started doing this? Can you detail out a day's diet? What did you eat for breakfast and all your other things?
Yeah, I mean, because I pretty much eat the same thing today. You know, a little variation, but my breakfast is real simple. I have the either Quaker Oats, or I make my own cereal now. I go get the bulk stuff and I make my own oats, and I've gotten a little crazy with that stuff. I make my own cereal, so I have a little bit of cereal, and my cereal I put peanut butter. I heat it up, and then I whip some peanut butter in it to get the protein up. Because I had to have almost like 100 grams of protein because of my body frame. So I had to find ways to push protein. So what I did was I did a little oatmeal and I put a scoop of peanut butter in it early and just a little banana and you know, just a little half and half to make it, you know, so that was it. I'd have that. Mid-morning, I would have a protein bar, like Protein Plus or the other one, I get about 28 grams of protein. Lunch, maybe a little chicken salad. You know, occasionally half a wrap. I like oh yeah protein shakes. They're just fantastic. I always have 2 or 3 of those in my refrigerator at my office, so that if I, for some reason or other, either I forget my lunch or I don't have a lunch appointment, whatever, I don't ever want to be without a meal. So I know I always have one in the refrigerator. I go out and I get myself a couple of those, and it's planning ahead. It's planning ahead. And in the afternoon, probably around 3 o'clock or so, I'll have a you know, whole wheat and peanut butter crackers. You know, occasionally a piece of fruit or a banana, something like that. And then at dinner, like tonight, I made on Saturday. Somebody gave us this zucchini, like a nuclear zucchini, and I cut it all long ways, long strips. And with some regatta cheese and mozzarella and tomato sauce, I made a zucchini-like lasagna. And so I make a big sheet of that, and I cut it up into little squares, and just keep it so that if I need to, I just take it out and I microwave that. And I had that tonight with a little chicken, you know, with salmon. Love salmon. I started to learn things like the best fish for protein, because I had to go for protein. The best fish for protein is snapper, then salmon, then tuna.
That's a turtle.
Yeah, or red snapper fish or whatever it was. But that was the best fish. Oh, you want me on there? Sorry, Kevin. So I really understood what proteins I needed. And that's how I ate my meals. I had to make sure I got my 75 to 100 grams of protein every day. And then, you know, I found little snack stuff. Oh, talking about snacks. It's over here. But Kevin, Kevin, could you be like a waiter? Okay, so I got this gal in my church, and she came over her house for dinner. She was one of those people who came, I said, look, this is how I eat. And so she went online, and she went looking for all sugar-free desserts for me. And so she knew I was speaking here tonight. And so today she walked in my office with a plate of her very delicious, no sugar, gluten-free brownies.
Oh my God.
Amen.
I'm a pastor, I'm excited that you said that. Okay. And she said, let them have a little treat, you know, let the folks have a little treat so they know. What's that? And there's about 55 to 60 calories in each brownie. So if you know you're gonna have a snack about 100 calories or so. What are you saying for a snack now? About 100? Okay, 100, 150. So, you know, 2 of these bad boys with a little cup of coffee, you feel like you've been to Dunkin' Donuts.
We're putting these on the back table.
And please take them.
And
They're
there's
really
no
good.
sugar, no sugar in them at all.
But no sugar.
And you brought the recipe.
No, I didn't bring it. It's online. It's online. She just went online. She found this stuff. It's all there. It's sitting there, and you just got to, you know, take some time and do it. And she made me a sugar-free cheesecake. It was the first cheesecake I had in 3 years. It was delicious. It was like heaven. I mean, I heard the angels singing. What other questions? Yeah, Kevin.
Jamie, what are your biggest hurdles in the management of your weight loss?
What was it?
What is it currently?
My guess is no.
Thinking of turtles and
What was that?
Thinking of hurdles and having asses.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's so ingrained in me now. I mean, I don't. My office is right by Ruby Tuesdays, and when I have a appointment lunch or I have a meeting, I go on to Ruby Tuesdays, and all the waitresses know me there because it's right by my office. So she'll come to the table and she'll say, "What would you like to drink?" to the guy I'm with, and then she looks at me. And any one of the waitresses will go, "We know you don't drink." And so, and people, you know, if I'm there, and let's say I'm on the cell phone, one of my associates will say, he doesn't get anything to drink during his meals. Don't drink. Look, if you want to have this surgery, you better stick with the rules.
Amen.
You're not cheating, but you know, you better stick with the rules. There's no more drinking at meals. And there's just certain things. And you just get drilled in that this is the way you will live your life. And that's it, you know. You know, I'd like to give you, and it's not that I'm, you know, but you just keep with the rules and there's no hurdles. You do what they tell you to do. You take that notebook, you read it from one end to the other, and you say, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. And it took me 50 years to gain 410 pounds. It took me less than 2 years to lose 170. And so I feel like I'm ahead of the game. And I don't want to put it back on. And I want to keep staying healthy. Yeah.
How much weight did you lose in your first 6 weeks with all this?
I lost to 40, and by just before Christmas, I had lost 100 pounds total for that year. So I keep moving away from the camera. Sorry, Ken. So from February to Christmas, it was 100 pounds. And then I did exactly what Dr. Brader, his little calculator, said I would do, is from the surgery to the first year was like 115 pounds. So I think it was about 150 in 1 year, but that's counting the 40 I lost before. And then it was just mop up. There was another 30 or so over the next year or so. I'll tell you one other thing that's really important for the pre-op folks before you have the surgery. And that is, you got to start doing some kind of exercise. You have to do the exercise. You have to start exercising. You have to start walking. You have to do something. You have to get active. I have a doctor friend, he says this, if you're not walking, death can catch you. So you have to start doing exercise. And it is important because your weight loss will be so dramatic those first number of months because, you know, you're on the liquid diet and the baby food and this and that, and you're losing it, shedding off. You can't believe it. You can't believe it. But you want to start toning your body. And so you want to be walking. You want to be, you know, if the simplest thing is take a walk and have some soup cans in your hand while you're walking, have some weight in your hand, you got to do something. And you're, you know, fortunate you have an exercise guy here who will help you and just get a plan. But you've got to start exercising.
Jamie, I have a question. Tell me about your wife. How has she been helpful with you? Like,
my wife is perfect. She told me to say that. It's you know, it's interesting. We have our church we have our small group tonight, so she's there. But she wanted to come tonight, and I said, no, you don't have to come. She said, no, I want to come. I want to come because that's key. I mean, she's got to be in the game with you on this thing, and she was very, very supportive, very supportive. And, you know, those first couple of weeks, you know, my son and they understood that I wasn't going to be eating with them. It was not going to be normal. Life was going to be upside down for a couple of weeks. But she has been very encouraging in that way. Oh, one little side note. This encouraged my son so, and he was not overweight, but this past year he lost 40 pounds. And he's a junior in college. And, you know, he was about 230 pounds, strong kid, athletic as well. And he got down to 190 this summer going back to college. And so I just saw him at college yesterday. And I was stopped by at his college yesterday and saw some of his roommates, some of the dorm people. And they said, and Mr. Mitchell, Alex came back. Holy mackerel, what did you do to him? And I said, I didn't do anything. He just said, let's do this. And so he started running and all that. And so he lost 40 pounds. He was encouraged by it. And so he's gotten healthy. And so my wife, my son, very supportive of the whole thing and very encouraging. And, you know, so I think that plays a big part of the whole deal. Yeah.
Did you do a bucket list?
You know, it's before I die kind of bucket list.
Yeah.
Do you know, I just spoke on this on Sunday, do you know that Webster's made that an official new word in their dictionary this year, a bucket list? Along with aha moment. and as well, what was the other ones? I'll have to think about it. Oh, shovel ready. Yeah, we needed a definition for that because no one's figured out what that is yet. So, so they had all these words and bucket list. No, I have no bucket list. I have no bucket list. It'd be nice, I guess. I guess I could work on that next.
How about drop your drawers?
Do my what? Listen, I'm a pastor. I drop my drawers. That's scandal, and I lose my job. What's that?
I think Chris can come along.
Yeah.
But if you came to support group, you know what that was.
Yeah, see, my problem. I'm a bad boy not going to support group, so I don't know what those things are. Kristen's giving me the evil eye back there.
It's in February.
Yeah.
You need to be there.
And what is it?
You hold your pants in front of you.
Just like that.
Just like
I did that already. And they put it on a picture.
It's a big ceremony.
Oh, okay.
But you didn't do the bus.
I kept that suit. That was one suit. Kind of a funny story about the pants, not the suit jacket, the pants. I had just bought, obviously as a pastor, you know, I had suits and that kind of thing. And so I had just bought that suit about 6 months before I went on this whole journey. And this was a $790 suit. Wait, it gets better. And I saw it on the rack for $150. The day I went into the store to get it, it was 50% off. And I had a gift certificate, and I got it for like $16. And I had the tag stuck in my jacket because I wanted to show people I was wearing a $700. It's still in there. And but I kept that suit, and that was a size 58 waist, and I'm a size 40 today.
Goodwill does have good bargains.
What's that?
Goodwill does have good
Yeah.
bargains.
I got a lot of my clothes at Goodwill, and I'm wearing my son's shirt today. He got, once he lost all his weight, he cleaned his closet out, and I rooted through the stuff. I said, I want that. That looks youthful. I want that. What else? Any other questions?
Where is your church?
In the city. In the city.
Yes, so what's the name of it?
Oh, New Song Fellowship Church. New Song Fellowship Church. It's on Prospect. On the, if you're a Lancasterian, it would be Cabbage Hill. Up in that area. Kevin.
With some of the folks that may be having either slow weight loss or even potential weight regain, what would your words of wisdom, besides following the rules, what would your words of wisdom to those people be?
Well, if you go back and diagnose what's happening, what have you done differently? You got to go back to first principles. If you need to, go back and start journaling again. If you need to, start looking and say, okay, what do I need to do differently here? Where did I go wrong? Am I not drinking enough water? Am I not exercising enough? Am I not spreading out my meals and keeping the engine going all day, keeping my metabolism moving, you know? So let's go back to first principles and let's diagnose the problem. Don't panic. You know, that's the worst thing to do, panic or get down on yourself. If you're not losing, there's a reason for it. And it may be, I mean, again, you guys know this better than anybody, but you know, as I started to study this a little bit, I know that there are times when you bounce, you have a little bit of a bounce, and you plateau, but you know, again, your body will tell you, and you guys will tell them, hey, this is where you're at, and this is what's going on, but you know, you can't get down on yourself, but at the same time, you got to diagnose the problem and say, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to go back to get this thing right? You know? I tell you the other thing is, and this is me, So this may or may not work. They may tell you, don't do that. Don't listen to that idiot up there. I weighed myself every day. Every day. Every day. And then I was able to think through the day when I had tremendous losses and when I was steady and when even I gained 2 pounds and this and that was very normal, going up and down like that, and you know. But I weighed myself every day. Every day I checked it because I wanted to just keep seeing the progress of it. Now it's more like a week, once a week, once every 8, 10 days, something like that. I'm stuck. I'm stuck at a place, and that's it. But I'm being very careful about my weight. I'm being very careful what I do. But I know if I don't eat a certain amount of calories, I'll lose a couple pounds, and I don't feel good. So I know exactly what I need to eat to keep myself right where I'm at, and I feel healthy. But I'm also still losing inches because of working out and running. So I lost 2 inches this year. I went from a 42 from a 40 waist in a year. So I've lost 2 inches around my waist this year. And I've lost here, if you had seen me like in that picture, I still have a lot of skin around my neck and that kind of thing. This is all starting to get smaller. And it will. It just takes time. Yes, sir.
During your whole duration, was there any time you got hungry at all? Throughout the day or any time at all?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you get hungry. I mean, but it's eating small meals all through the day. That helps because you get ahead of it. But that's why you have the surgery too. You don't have the hunger pains like you used to. You feel full. You feel full, and you'll be surprised. You'll eat you'll eat a deck of cards, a bunch of food, and you'll say, man, I used to have to knock down like a 16-ounce prime rib to even partially fill. And so, but then you'll see the results. You'll see the results.
Were you very hungry before the operation? Were you hungry and doing that diet? Like, I'm hungry all the time.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I was hungry, but part of my problem was I didn't eat right. I didn't eat right, and when I really started to understand how to eat and good nutrition and that kind of thing, and I didn't eat a lot of junk. I wasn't a sweet guy. I wasn't a big cake guy. I was more of a carbo guy. From New York, bagels, pasta, pizza, that kind of thing. I like anything carbo. But I wasn't a sweet guy.
You naturally tend to start eating carbs, or it's something you have to discipline yourself? Like after the surgery, can you take, or do you develop a natural?
Yeah, but here's the thing. For me, because I had to get the protein in my system, the choice was I eat proteins and I feel good and I keep my blood sugar up and I have energy, or I eat carbos and that fills me up and then I don't feel good. So I just said, that's a trade-off. I'm either going to eat my protein and make sure I get what I need, or I fill myself up over here and I'm not going to feel good. And so that's the choice. And that's still the choice. That's still the choice.
What would you say to a preoperative patient that may think that surgery is the answer to change their behavior, and they're waiting for surgery to change them?
Look, surgery is a tool. It's a tool. You're going to get, Dr. Brady's going to get you back in the game. But as Dr. Brader said to me, you're driving the bus. You're driving the bus. I'll get you in the game, but you're driving the bus. What you do at meal times, what you do with exercise, what you do with this is up to you. And don't look at this. See, that's what everybody thinks. That's why they give you that strange look when you say you have bariatric surgery. Oh, you cheated. I said, no. Let me explain to you how this all works. And so, but it's going back to understanding what's happening to you. and why are you having the surgery, and what is it doing to your body so that you can get back in the game and lose the weight and get healthy again.
It's been my experience in life that pain's a good motivator. And being nauseated is a good motivator. And it sounds like that dumping thing you're talking about is very unpleasant.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
kinda make you
I just made
not
sure
do
I
that
never
again.
I made sure I never on purpose did something that would, you know, that was a weird thing, you know. Who would ever thought I took the, you know, I didn't even think about when I said to her, give me the sugar-free syrup, she laid the thing down. And I later said to her, you know, you remember I asked for sugar-free?
Mhm.
She said, oh, I didn't give you sugar-free. Yeah, I said, you almost killed me, thank you very much. And don't you know that I still had to pay for my meal? That's what Anything else?
Well, everybody, let's give it up for Jamie. Pastor Jamie.